Welcome to the Pro Show, where we talk about everything real estate with some of the best real estate agents in Colorado. Hi, I'm Rick Mackley with Rockin' Media, and today we're going to see what's happening in the Denver area market. We'll also talk about the pros and cons of owning an existing home, whether you're buying or selling. Also, what it takes to stage a vacant home. Finally, we'll get a look at some great properties for sale here in Colorado. That's next on the Pro Show. Showing your property at its best online is one of the first of many important steps to getting your home sold. At Rockin' Media, we provide you with the best quality photos taken by staff photographers, not contractors, who process your photos individually. We use our proprietary Flash HDR process, which combines the natural look of HDR with the color accuracy of Flash, along with properly exposed windows. Rockin' Media's HDR process is clearly exceptional. Find out more and schedule online at rockinmedia.com. Today, we've got three wonderful Coldwell Banker agents, and a couple of them haven't been on our previous show. So I am going to start with Debbie Jacobs. Hi, Debbie. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Rick. Good morning, Rick.
Hi.
So thank you for inviting me. My name is Debbie Jacobs. My area that I typically work is the South area, so the Tech Center, Cherry Creek School District, Douglas County, and various areas there. Probably my unique story, I guess, since we all do, is that I have been involved in construction through both my family growing up, and then also I owned construction businesses kind of early on in my career. And so I'm very familiar and have that ability to translate that experience to assist my clients.
Well, awesome. Welcome. Great to have you on the show. And next we have Shannon Pace, and she's also from the South office, but I know her from Denver Central. So she's all over the place. Hi, Shannon. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks, Rick, for having me on.
Sure.
Yes, I'm starting to call myself Miss Coldwell Banker because I've had 3 offices.
She's been in a number of different offices over the years. Yes. And so tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I've been in the business for a little over 10 years now. I started Your Fresh Start group about 3 years ago, and I have 5 agents, including myself, on the team. And it's just been fantastic to be with Coldwell from my very start of my career till now. So thank you for having me on today, Rick.
Fortunately, we have some July stats to go over. We'll talk about some of them and probably come back and talk about some of the others, since the agents on today and our co-hosts are mainly from the metro area. We'll focus on that. And I'm going to start out with year-over-year inventory growth, and these come from Realtor.com. And obviously, we've got a lot more inventory. How is that affecting you guys as I roll over and people can see what the growth is in their different areas?
Well, I think it's an excellent opportunity for those people that were so afraid before to put their houses on the market, because the most common feedback we would get as agents is, well, where would I go? So I think that problem is getting solved with the amount of inventory that we're seeing. And for the first time, we're able to actually go into a home and put in a contingent offer, meaning that the sale of their home is able to purchase the next home, which honestly we haven't seen in years. So I do think there's some silver linings in this inventory.
Probably helps with buyers too, right, Debbie?
Absolutely.
Yes, and that's where I was kind of thinking as well. It's very nice and refreshing to be able to take a buyer to see more than one property in a neighborhood that they have interest in, and then be able to actually go back and see the property a second or maybe even a third time before they're having to make a decision. Because with that little inventory, making decisions in 15 minutes is not necessarily a good long-term plan.
And LaVerne, what are you seeing on the west side? Do these seem to fit with what you're seeing?
Absolutely, yeah. We're definitely seeing more inventory, which I think is, I agree. It's the silver line. It's actually, I prefer selling in a balanced market. I feel like it's the right thing for buyers to be able to make educated decisions rather than knee-jerk decisions. And, I just feel like it's a win-win. Sellers, sellers have to do a little bit more and prepare a little bit more and be a little bit more thoughtful in their list price. I will say though, if properties show well and priced well, they will go quicker. But if the sellers are just going to test the market and just put a price out there that's not reasonable, they're not going to get an offer, let alone the showings are really slow.
Well, and that takes me to price cuts. Obviously, they're listening to you guys because we're seeing a lot of price cuts from where they started. So they probably started out too high, wouldn't you think?
Yes, I think now too is what we're seeing is that price cuts don't have quite the negative meaning to the buyer. So it used to be that we were pretty fickle. So if you saw a price reduction, the buyer was like, "Oh, what's wrong with the house?" Whereas now, they come a little more frequently. So I would say that it has less of a stigma.
What do you think, LaVerne?
I agree. I mean, price cuts are, it's just, I'm getting a really bad.
Yeah, we just got somebody. So everybody turn your volume down on your computer or your phone. If you're not wearing headphones. If you're wearing headphones, you can. Yeah. Somewhere all of a sudden we started a feedback loop.
Better?
But the good news is we're just looking at a screen, so we can just pick it up from there. So what do you think, LaVerne? Can you hear me?
Price cuts. I think
let's pick it up from there again.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yep, we're all good. So what do you think, LaVerne?
Okay. So price cuts, I think, I agree with Shannon. It's like it's not a negative, it's more of a correction. It's a price correction. And the buyers, I will say though, when you do see the price correction, the sellers are reasonable. It's kind of good because when you're kind of considering that property and the buyers are correcting that price, or the sellers are correcting that price, and the buyers are like, okay, I'm going to be working with somebody that's already reasonable, that they're not unreasonable in negotiating as we move forward. So, I feel like everything will sell for the right price. And it's just, having the agents consult with their sellers on the inventory, the competition that they're in, and getting their sellers to say, okay, yeah, I get it. Let's, correct this. And generally, I will say with the price correction, they will soon thereafter get under contract.
And Debbie, obviously out in Arapahoe County, Adams County, Douglas, we're seeing some pretty significant year-over-year price cuts.
And what I'm seeing is that there are some properties that are coming on the market that actually had almost like the beginning of 2023 because we've had so little inventory. An agent that might be coming into that market may not be that familiar with that particular neighborhood, and they are doing comps from January of 2023, and we've had a significant difference, obviously, in the way that properties have been presented. So, I'm agreeing totally with LaVerne and also Shannon that if the property is not in a pristine condition, basically, and look perfect, and then is overpriced as well, that's when we are seeing that price reduction. And even with that low inventory in the tech center area, that's still not overcoming. So kind of, I'm thinking that my catchphrase for this year's real estate market would be, it's just a little too much. Everybody's feeling like it's a little too much for interest rates and everything else combined. So I agree.
Well, and Lorri DeLaney has joined us this morning. And obviously the days on market have gone up a little bit as well. And if I look at year over year, this is where I consider lies, damn lies, and statistics. Because yes, it's gone up 33%, but it's gone up from 27 to 36, which isn't a significant amount year over year. And it was crazy when it was like 30 minutes on market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had more time to buy a pair of shoes than you did to purchase your house.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true, Shannon.
Exactly. So, um, well, that is great. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the stats next week. Hey, Greg, how's it going?
Doing well, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I'm looking to rent a property, or I'm looking to have a property, that you manage to actually be up on the, in the market and have tenants. What's going on with inventory and what is going on with prices?
That is a great question. Well, I can tell you right now that it is shifting. So, as we look all the way up and down the front range out of our 3 offices, we see a couple of key components. So, number one, we are seeing some homeowners that have interest rates that are at 3% that are choosing not to sell right now. And so they are choosing to go ahead and turn that home into a rental property. Number two, we are seeing folks that have tried to sell and can't quite get the price point that makes sense for them. And so they are then coming over and they're renting. And then there's a third group that is realizes that the market doesn't have the volume that it once did a couple of years ago. It's a little slower right now. And so they're just moving into a rental scenario. So from that particular standpoint, what we're running into on the rental side is we have incredibly high numbers of inventory right now relative to what we normally have. So this time of year, as we approach the end of the month, end of summer, etc., we now are looking at most of our zip codes have about 2 to 2.5, even some that have about 3 times the amount of inventory that they normally have this time of year. And so based on that, we don't have to be world-renowned economists to know that if we have that much inventory out there in excess of what demand is, and there's only one place that rental rates can go to, and that's to come down. And we are seeing that. So some areas are flat, some areas are down 2, 3, maybe even as much as 5% right now.
So similar, I guess, in some respects to the market from its peak of a couple of years ago. In general, it's down a little bit from off those peaks. So
Yep.
if I'm looking to rent, that's good news. If I'm a landlord, a little less good news because I can't charge as much and I might have more vacancies. So what does real property management do to help, get their property rented?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have a very aggressive advertising and marketing campaign, thoroughly screen the tenants to make sure that we're not just getting any renter, but we're getting a good renter or renters in the property. We're going to advertise, market, conduct the showings. We will take care of all of those pieces and be as aggressive as we can, because we really do have to find ways to differentiate our properties because there's so many out in the marketplace right now.
Well, that's great, Greg. Thanks. If you're looking to rent or if you've got a property that you want to have managed, reach out to Real Property Management and Greg Bacheller at realpropertymanagementcolorado.com. And I appreciate your time today. Thanks, Greg.
Many thanks, Rick. Have a great day.
You too. This week, I want to talk about the pros and cons of selling a home and want to go around and talk to each of you. And so, Debbie, what are some of the pros of selling an existing home?
Well, I think that one of the things that is very good is that you kind of know what you get. You know, when you're looking at an existing property from a buyer's perspective, you really understand, what the matured landscaping is going to look like, what the neighborhood is going to look like. So I think that you get a little bit more information as a buyer, and as a listing agent. That also is very helpful because it does give you a little bit of an insight into the demographic that might be wanting to purchase that property. So the marketing is a little easier to be able to reach out to the individuals that might want to live there.
And Lorri, what are your thoughts on a new home and what are the pros?
Okay, so just pros we're talking about right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so the pros I think are, the window coverings are already up and installed. The landscaping is already in, and like Debbie said, it is an established neighborhood, so you can kind of see what you're moving into, and you don't have to contend with construction all around you for the next 6 months to a year. So, and then you know the neighbors, like because it's already established, and there's maybe a longevity of the neighbors. So there's a lot of positives I see there.
And LaVerne, I think the landscaping would be a huge deal, is having that
Huge
all.
deal. Landscaping, because it's so expensive. When you're buying a new home and okay, what are the hidden costs? Not so hidden, because you've got to, install landscaping with new construction. With an existing home, everything is in place, but I want to really address this settling of a home. And like after a couple of years, if it's already, if it's shifted or whatever, it will have already done that. And especially with, you know, the landscape installed and making sure that you're not having drainage towards the house. I mean, that's huge, especially looking forward in some of your costs that you're going to have. So properties that, have shifted, hopefully the sellers would have already addressed the shifting. If not, you're going to be talking about that in negotiating the sale of that property.
Yeah. And Shannon, do you have any pros you want to bring up that haven't been discussed already?
Yeah, so one thing that I think that they don't talk to you about a lot is when there's an HOA involved and it's the builder, it's a new build. When they pass it on, so at a certain point it goes back to the community, and sometimes they're very wrong on what your monthly rate's going to be. So I just had a client where he bought it was it actually was an attached home. So it was a townhouse. And originally, when they were buying, it was going to be $250 a month for their HOA. And lo and behold, once the builder gave it back to the community, it's $450 a
Wow.
month.
So you know what the HOAs are going to be.
Yeah,
And that could be significant, obviously.
it's huge. That can
Yeah.
be a huge factor.
Yeah. So
However, I just would like to speak to that because it can go both ways because of the fires and so forth that we've had in Superior. I'm seeing even in pre-owned attached properties that the HOAs are going up. So we have to be careful with that. It can be a positive, it can be a pro, but it also can go up unexpectedly because of the property insurance rates that are going on right now in the state of Colorado.
and what are some of the cons? Anyone can take this.
I'll just finish. I think updating. I think, everybody with, especially if they need a loan and they're stretching to get into a home at 600 to 650, they don't have a lot of discretionary income to put into updating or renovating. So they kind of want it almost how they want it when they see it. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we find right now is just that they're dated.
I
Obviously
agree.
updating.
And
I think that you're competing with new builds for the interest rate. So sometimes, if you are an existing property that's on market and you are near a new builds, you have the pretty fierce competition because they're offering so many amazing incentives right now. So you have to take that into consideration for pricing.
And
I
obviously,
think that,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. I was just going to say, and I think that the buyer pool really watches a lot of television. So everybody's expecting a certain vibe to move into. And so to the previous comments, that they just don't feel like they have enough money in the bank to secure the loan and then also get it to look like what they expect from the television.
Well, along those lines, I think another challenge for pre-owned homeowners or homeowners that are selling their pre-owned home is they're in a position where they have to compete with those new builds like Shannon was talking about, and many times they're asked for thousands of dollars of concessions to buy the rate down to compete with those builders because the builders are handing out like 20,000 to buy the rate down 2 percentage points for a year. So sometimes just to get out from underneath that pre-owned, they're kind of in a position where now they're forced to offer concessions again, which we haven't seen for a little bit in the past few years.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you have an existing home, it's important to have it updated, correct?
Yes.
Or at least very market ready. So clean, staged. You definitely have to take a lot more into consideration now when you're putting your home on market. You can't just do the iPhone photos, the terrible things that we saw in 2019.
Yeah. I have had a couple of listings that are actually estate sales, and they're dated. And really, the family or the estate, they don't really want to go in there and do anything. So that conversation is like, okay, it's not updated, which means our price is not going to be. We can't price this as if it's an updated home. We've got to price it to where it's like maybe we're going to market to investors that will come in and update it and then get a premium for it. But you definitely, given the condition of the property, your pricing is a very important conversation.
Any other cons that people want to talk about relative to owning an existing home or selling an existing home?
Well, I agree that not everybody wants to update or pay to update it when they haven't done so. For example, I've got one on the market right now. It's not an estate sale, but they're on a retired income in their 80s, trying to downsize to a ranch, better floor plan for their health. And they don't want to, they can't put, time is of essence. So they're listing it now because we're in a trending down market. And so it's a tricky situation to price it accordingly, but yet get out what they need to get onto their next destination. So those are some of the kinds of challenges I think we're running into with this, the pre-owned buyer or seller, and then trying to connect the dots to buy well. And honestly, I think this is the best market to do that, whether people are upsizing or downsizing. When you have a home to get out from underneath, and then in order to buy another one, you can buy relatively well and you can sell relatively well, provided it's clean, even if it's not entirely updated.
Well, obviously there are probably some cons if you're buying a existing home as well, right?
Right.
What are some of those?
Well, for example, go ahead.
Well, I agree with Lorri. I have a listing that was very surprised. It's in perfect condition as far as been maintained. It's a solid brick, full custom home. The comps would be, $200,000 over what the asking price is, and because it's dated, even though the paint colors are a little older, the cabinet colors are older, and it is surprising how much longer that property has taken to get under contract. And so I think that the cons for the buyer side is that they just really don't see, what that property could look like. It's very hard for them to have a vision of just some minor cosmetic updates and what that would mean for that property.
So no one wants a project.
Also, it still has to be a little bit buyer beware. Even though you're having a home inspection, that's a snapshot of time right there in that instance with the inspector. And we've all had these situations where it's the furnace is working perfectly until the day that they move in, and the next day suddenly the furnace is out. Even though it's been tested and we've done everything that we can, it's still a little buyer beware, and you need to be aware if you're buying a existing home, what your systems are and the ages, and maybe looking into a home warranty, things like that, where you can kind of help with your costs and managing them.
Good point, Shannon. And I love the fact that with American Home Shield warranties, you can actually have the seller covered once you put it on the market until close for like $70, which is wonderful for these older homes that have older HVAC, furnace and AC systems. So I try to encourage that if it hasn't been replaced in the last 2 to 5 years.
We should do a show on home warranties and the value of them, because I think that really is important to think about that when you're selling your home, and it obviously then helps the buyers feel more comfortable.
Definitely.
Yes, and with Coldwell Banker, that's awesome because we have such a great partnership.
And it usually reduces that laundry list of items on the inspection objection as well for the seller.
And before we get into staging a vacant home, which is what we want to talk about, let's talk about whether you actually want to list your home if it's vacant at all. What do you guys think?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You list it vacant? No staging, nothing? It works fine?
Well,
it
No.
depends on. But I
Vacant,
do have a property that you just did photos of that actually we know it's more an investment property. So on that, I actually did virtual box brownie photos where virtual staging where we removed items instead of putting them in. So that's a low case, but maybe like what Laverne and Lori have talked about a little bit about those estate sales. Sometimes that's your best opportunity is to get it vacant, cleaned out if there's just so much updating so they can see.
Yeah. And I'm with you on box brownie too, especially with, something dated, just to give, an idea of the space that the room has. So if you want to put, a couch, coffee table, a couple of chairs, or a dining room, how big can this dining room table be there? So box brownie is really good for that kind of thing, the virtual staging, and then follow it up with with a picture of just the empty room. I also think it's really good to, like, those properties that are distressed properties, take a picture of the distress. I mean, take a picture so that when buyers come in, they're not going to be surprised, or they're going to be prepared for what they're walking into. And again, we're going to go back to the price.
Yeah,
that's
all on
what
price.
that's what I hesitate to use a box brownie, because I kind of feel like it's like bait and switch, like it's misrepresenting the property, and they expect it to be this nice empty space, and then they go in there and it's like a hoarder property from an estate where the investors come in and going to empty everything out. So I don't know. I almost just take a picture of the front and post that on the MLS and then let them see it for reality. Don't worry about the interior if it's that bad. You know what I mean?
And just so people know, most these ladies, I've been recommending boxbrownie.com to do virtual staging for years. And so most of them use them and they do a great job. And it looks like actual furniture. We'll also do one of these episodes where we show how virtual staging looks. And I've had some agents who we've done virtual staging, and the homeowner liked the virtual staging so much that they actually bought furniture because they wanted the house to look the way it did, and then they sold it furnished. So there's some benefits. So we'll talk about that on a future show as well, because I think it'd be good to talk about the pros and cons of virtual staging, which is a good idea to talk about, Lori. Debbie, any thoughts on staging a vacant home and what you try and do?
sure. So I always stage a property, even if, and I usually, depending on what the price point is, but even the things that are, like the investor special, I typically at least put a few pieces of furniture in there and definitely some artwork. I have a lot of my own staging equipment, so I feel that really helps the buyer to understand what the size of the bedrooms are specifically, and kind of what it could look like. So I don't believe that I've ever actually had a vacant property. I've always encouraged either my seller or myself to go ahead and put that staging in there. I just feel it's that important.
I think there are statistics that say if a staged home sells for more money and in fewer days if it's staged, because people have trouble envisioning how to utilize the space of, say, a large living room and so forth. So it gives them ideas, and I think it does show better in the photographs and in person with furniture.
Just gives people a feeling of what the home can look like. And I've also seen builders who will I had one builder that when we were looking for our house that actually put a home or a bed that was a sub twin in a very small bedroom to make the bedroom look bigger. And so, there can be deceptive practices even on real furniture. But yeah, at least you could see, oh, that's a king size bed. We have a king size bed. It'll fit in this room with still plenty of space to move around. And Shannon, I know you stage a lot of yours. How many of you do all of you use stagers, or do you do it yourself?
So I
Both.
use a stager. I think a lot of agents there's some agents that just are amazing at staging. I have found that I have a stager who is incredible. So she comes in. Yesterday, we have a listing coming up in backcountry, and they're moving out ahead of time. So this is a great example of making sure that we have it actually staged. So it's not a vacant property, because right now in the neighborhood, there's 12 listings. So we have to set ourselves apart, and our lot is a little bit challenging. So I want to make sure that when somebody comes in, they're focused in on how beautiful it lives inside as well. So the stager comes in, we do an appointment, then she goes and selects items, and then it's all delivered on staging day.
Lorri, what do you use a stager or do you do a lot of it yourself?
I use a stager. I think it's really important. And I think it's really important to use small scale furniture, not the overstuffed furniture, maybe a queen bed instead of a king in a small bedroom and that kind of thing. And you don't have to necessarily stage every room, but I think, first impressions are huge. So like when you walk in the door, if you see the areas like living room and so forth staged, and a bedroom or an office, so it doesn't have to be the whole house, but yes, I have a fabulous stager that just can turn a small space into looks like a magazine. And I think it photographs better, shows better, and absolutely sells quicker.
What about you, Debbie?
So I use a professional stager as well. So especially with a higher price point property, for sure, I invite her to come in. She does a consultation, figures out exactly what is going to look best, and it really warms up the space. And then we'll kind of talk a little bit about what I think might be good in the property. But then sometimes if I would need to keep the cost down, I also, because I do have a lot of staging, I might do some of the bedrooms, especially the secondary bedrooms, where you can get a better vision of what the size is on that particular room. So I will sometimes do a combo. And then the lower price properties, I often will just do my own staging, and then I have a mover that I hire to be able to facilitate that.
And LaVerne, what about you?
So I do both. Same thing, Debbie. I've got a whole basement full of stuff that I could take in. Now, occupied homes, of course, professional stagers won't bring their stuff in, but you can get a good consult with an occupied home, and they could come in and help the seller rearrange furniture or declutter or do stuff like that. So I think definitely getting a consult from a stager, whether it's occupied or vacant. And again, it depends too on the property in of itself. I mean, the funny thing is, my lower priced homes that I have had professional stagers come in, man, we have gone way over list price when we, with multiple offers. So I think it works, in all price points. And, it just really, I think it's house specific.
And is this something that you folks actually pay for, or you have your clients pay for, your homeowners?
That I pay for the staging for my clients. I have found that the home sells faster for more money, and that's part of my marketing package that I do.
Debbie?
Same.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And Lorri?
I pass it on to the clients when I can. I would say more times I have a very reasonably priced professional stager who has a lot of inventory where I don't choose to keep it. And so she's very reasonable. And so I try to pass that on. And I think that, I don't know, I feel like that they appreciate the value of that more when they are paying a little bit. But, for a small town home, say it might be $700 to $1,000, not like $3,000 a month. And it usually, knock on wood, is, she doesn't charge me extra if it goes into another month. But usually, if you get someone who is like $3,000 a month, if it goes into the next month and it takes 51 days to sell, like one of my luxury properties, that's really expensive. Yeah. And this one, she doesn't charge me extra to deliver, pick up, or regardless of how long it's there. That's the kind of stager we need in today's market, unfortunately.
Exactly. LaVerne?
I've passed it on and I've paid for it myself. It kind of depends on, the motivation for the seller and what sort of, what we're working towards, so I've done both. Both, my sellers have paid for it, and then I have picked up some of it. And then again, like a lot of times, I have my own stuff too, so I could go in there, and of course, that's totally me.
Sure. Absolutely.
And
Well,
I
awesome.
guess I'll put a
Go
little
ahead.
caveat on that. That
Yes.
also, sometimes it, as an example, sometimes on a property that needs a lot of help, like we're going to do full paint, maybe we're going to do new carpet before we put it on the market. That sometimes will be an extra charge for the client to be able to do that consult that I would be able to take care of and help them with those individual contractors. So in that case, that staging may actually be passed on to the client.
And I have one other thought on that.
Sure.
We're trying to get a price reduction. Let's say a luxury home is set on the market for a couple months, and here we're going into less trending down season. I'm not going to ask them to reduce the price by 25, 30, 50,000 and not do something myself. So at that point, I'll throw in, hey, let's get, staged in here or staged furniture and re-photo shoot it. And, so I'll share in that. And at that point, that's a good way to kind of negotiate a price reduction. At the same time, you're offering, you're paying for something that can give it a lift and hopefully get it under contract sooner.
That's a good
Yeah.
point. And now it's time to talk mortgages and get some mortgage advice from Nancy Alexander at Guaranteed Rate Affinity. Hi, Nancy. How are you?
Hi, Rick. I'm good. How's your day going?
It's going well. So today we're going to talk about mortgage locks. And before we do that, I want to be clear, Guaranteed Rate Affinity is not sponsoring this program, but Nancy works for Guaranteed Rate Affinity. And when we talk mortgage locks, what are we talking about? Or rate locks?
Well, you're talking about securing the price of your note when you take a lock. So the thing to remember is that a lock goes with the house, it goes with the residence, it doesn't go with the buyers. So you have to be under contract before you can really take a lock. A lock goes in increments, right? They go in time increments. So think of 0 as being the day that you're closing. And anything out from there, you begin to look at your time frame of your lock: 15 days, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, etc. And as the further you go out on that lock, the more expensive that interest rate becomes, because the longer that the market is holding that money for you to then hit your actual lock.
So if rates go up, you're covered. What if they go down?
It's a great question. If they go down, Guaranteed Rate Affinity, one of the few that I know of has what's called a free float down. So let's say, for example, we take a lock at 7.5, where the rates were last week. This week, my God, we've had a stellar week, and we've literally gained a half a point, or I should say a half a point has been taken off that rate. So let's say last week we locked at 7.5. This week we're now at 7. Can we get that new rate? Yes, we can, with a free float down. We offer one free float down in the process while you're in your transaction. Can you take more float downs? You can.
So obviously, one of the things I constantly hear is, oh my gosh, we're not going to close on time. And if the on time is the last day that your lock expires and rates have gone up, what happens? And you don't have that free float
Well,
down.
that's a great question, because what we do is that we extend the lock, and there's
Okay.
a price to extending the lock. Remember, you took that lock in a time frame, right? 15 days, 20 days, 30 days, whatever that time frame was. If you exceed that time frame of that lock, then we're not just going to get rid of the lock because we've got a commitment out there in the marketplace. We're going to extend it, and there's a cost. And then that negotiation comes back in. Who pays for that cost, right? Is it seller? Is that why it was extended, or is it buyer?
So one of the things is, obviously you want to work with a good mortgage professional so you don't
Mhm.
miss it because of, title or not having the loan ready. So, and I
Right.
know that's what Nancy does well, is getting to the closing table and having everything hopefully all tied up. And that's one of the keys. So next week, why don't we talk about, I don't know what you call it. It's like where you used to be able to pay down your rate.
Oh, buying down. So in other words, buying points to take your rate from market rate to the rate that you are paying for now.
Well, why don't we talk about that next week, and look forward to seeing you then.
Love to do it. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks. First up, we have Lorri DeLaney's home for sale in Broomfield. Tell us about this home, Lorri.
Hi there. This is a beautiful luxury townhome nestled in the Broadlands Golf Course community, backing to the 16th green. It's got a main floor primary suite, which a lot of people are looking for, and also has another primary suite upstairs with a loft. So as you can see, you come in here, there's a lot of opportunity to make it yours and add flooring or update it the way you would see fit. But the location is just bar none because it's very, very private. And these don't come along very often along the golf course. Unless somebody goes to senior living or dies, they pretty much they don't become available. Many people, when they first moved in here, they paid $55,000 for a lot premium to get this spot. So as you can see, it's not fully updated, but it does have a gas stove, which is highly desirable. And most of the ones in this neighborhood are electric. But anyway, 2 beds, 2 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 3 full and 1 powder. So this is the upstairs loft. You can make this an office or a bedroom, or you could have the office study in the loft, and it has a finished basement. So just 579 square feet down here with a 3/4 bath. Very nice to have the bath there. Perfect workout room, man cave, and then even an HVAC storage room.
Is this the view from the back?
That is the view from the back, yes.
Well, looks like a great place to hang out. And,
yeah, it's a wonderful community.
And just so everyone knows that's watching this, the prices are subject to change. They're valid as of the date that we record this, but I encourage you to go to Coldwell Banker Homes and take a look at this property and all the properties we talk about today. And next up is Debbie's listing down in Castle Rock. Debbie, tell us about this home.
So this property is a little over 4,800 square feet. It is fully finished. It has lots of beautiful areas within the home. There are 4 bedrooms upstairs, including the primary, and then you'll see that it has the updated cabinets, brand new paint, brand new carpet. But what I love about this property is the backyard is actually open up to open space, and it has a walkout basement with beautiful views off the back. And you can see a lot of little customization throughout the property, including the wainscoting that we just passed on that last photo. And then, of course, the basement has a full kitchen outlet in the area. Great for multi-gen. And there's a bedroom and a bathroom in that lower level.
Big primary suite.
Yes, definitely huge. And 5-piece bath, which of course is always really nice. And it just, the situation of where it's at in the neighborhood is great because it's not really a cul-de-sac, but it's at the very end of the neighborhood. So there's not a lot of traffic. It's very serene. And here you see this basement, which of course is really a great feature for that property.
Nice to have the kitchen on the lower level, workout room. And here's some of the open space views and the back patio covered. Awesome.
Yes.
Big house. Great views.
Yes, it's actually one of the largest models in Cobblestone Ranch. And Cobblestone Ranch is about 10 minutes from the Castle Rock major shopping areas.
And the next home we're going to talk about is Carr Street in Lakewood. That is Shannon's property. Tell us about this.
This lovely townhome, it's 1956 South Carr Street, is in Southern Gables, Lakewood. It is located very close to going to the mountains or to hopping on to 6th Avenue and getting downtown, easy access. One thing that's particular about this townhouse is that it has 3 en-suites out of the 4 bedrooms. So we have the primary ensuite, and then we also have an incredible outdoor space, which is unusual to be able to have with your own fenced in yard. And the HOAs are staying relatively low for the area, as well as just a fantastic parking opportunity too, because you have your one car bay, but you also have the drive and a deeded spot in front of the property. So this is a great opportunity for you to be able to purchase and live the lifestyle that Lakewood affords you.
And this is a great property to show what staging can do. It looks awesome.
Yes, you saw it before, and none of us live staged, and she just had really big furniture. So when she moved out, we brought in staging and brought Rick back out with his team, and it just looks absolutely incredible, and it looks just as incredible in person.
Well, this is another great home. You want to get a hold of Shannon if you want to go see it. And these have been 3 great homes today. Well, this has been awesome. I appreciate you joining me today for the Pro Show. If you want to have a consult with any of these ladies, you've got their numbers there on the screen. They're really receptive to talking to you, whether you're looking to buy or sell. And I appreciate you being on today. And hopefully we'll see you again next week.